What happens when love, money, and betrayal collide? What if the person you trusted the most, the one you shared your home, your dreams, and your life with, suddenly turned into your worst nightmare? This is the story of Darcey Silva and her ex-husband Georgi. Their romance once looked glamorous on reality TV, but it later fell apart in a storm of divorce papers, accusations, and heartbreak. Before the scandal, there was Darcey Silva, a woman known for her emotional journey on TLC's 90-Day Fiancé. Before the 90 days, she quickly became one of the most recognizable faces in the franchise. Fans connected with her vulnerability and her deep desire to find true love. They watched her cry, hope, and try again after every failed relationship. But Darcey was not only a reality TV star. She was also a businesswoman. Alongside her twin sister Stacey, she built the fashion brand House of 11. What began as a small project grew into a successful brand featured in major outlets. Darcey worked hard to build her career while also raising her two daughters as a single mother. Despite her past heartbreaks, she never gave up on love. Then Georgi entered her life. Georgi was a Bulgarian model who appeared charming and attentive. He was younger, handsome, and seemed to give Darcey the affection she had been searching for. Their relationship quickly became serious. Fans watched as they moved in together, made promises, and talked about marriage. On social media, they looked happy. They traveled, attended events, and shared smiling photos that made their love story seem perfect. For a while, it seemed like Darcey had finally found her happily ever after. But behind the smiles, problems were already growing. Friends and family, especially her twin sister Stacey, began to question Georgi's intentions. They worried that he was not truly committed and that he might not be with Darcey for the right reasons. One of the biggest issues in their relationship was money. Darcey was the main provider. She managed her brand, filmed for television, and supported her household. Georgi worked occasionally as a model, but he did not appear motivated to build a stable career. His relaxed attitude about finances started to concern Darcey. She wanted a partner who would share responsibilities and be transparent about money. Arguments became more frequent. Trust slowly began to break down. Darcey wanted honesty and stability. Georgi often responded with vague promises and unclear explanations. Even when red flags were obvious, Darcey chose to hold on to hope. After so many public heartbreaks, she desperately wanted this relationship to succeed. As time passed, rumors began to spread. People claimed they had seen Georgi in different restaurants with another woman named Amber. According to the story, Georgi had been secretly involved in a romantic relationship with her for over a year. While Darcey believed they were building a future together, Georgi was allegedly living a double life. The situation became even more shocking when financial accusations surfaced. It was claimed that Darcey sold her house and property for $900,000. Soon after, she allegedly discovered that $1 million of her savings had gone missing. According to the story, Georgi took the money and secretly fled. The betrayal was not just emotional. It was financial and devastating. Darcey reportedly filed a lawsuit against Georgi, accusing him of stealing $1 million. After a court hearing, it was claimed that Georgi was found guilty and sentenced to 1 year in prison. What once looked like a fairy tale romance had turned into a legal battle filled with pain and public drama. This is not just a story about a celebrity relationship falling apart. It is a story about trust, betrayal, and the high price of ignoring warning signs. Darcey believed in love. She believed in second chances. She believed that Georgi was different from the men who had hurt her in the past. But sometimes, love can blind us to the truth. The glamorous photos, the romantic promises, and the public smiles can hide deeper problems. In the end, Darcey's journey became a reminder that even strong, successful women can find themselves fighting for justice when trust is broken. What began as a hopeful love story ended as a painful lesson. A lesson about protecting your heart, your peace, and your finances. Instead of supporting Darcey, Georgi leaned on her emotionally and, as time later showed, financially as well. Darcey's family and friends became worried. Her twin sister, Stacy, often shared her concerns on the show. She saw Georgie's lack of motivation and questioned whether he truly loved Darcey or was simply enjoying the lifestyle that came with her fame. Fans also noticed the tension. On camera, Georgie often seemed distant and cold. When Darcey opened her heart and expressed her fears, he sometimes responded with short, dismissive answers. The red flags kept growing. Georgie was unclear about his past, especially about his ex-wife and his finances. Darcey eventually learned that he had debts he had not fully explained. Instead of being honest, he minimized the situation. Darcey wanted romance, honesty, and stability. Georgie often pulled away, leaving her feeling alone in the relationship. Some friends even claimed that Georgie tried to distance Darcey from people who questioned him, making her more emotionally dependent on him. Still, Darcey chose love over logic. After so many heartbreaks, she did not want to give up too quickly. Deep down, she was afraid. Afraid of starting over. Afraid of being alone. Afraid that this might be the best love she would ever find. That fear kept her holding on, even as Georgie grew colder. Then came the breaking point. Darcey began noticing strange behavior. Georgie would disappear for hours without explanation. He became defensive whenever she asked about money. Soon, whispers started. People claimed they had seen him with another woman. At first, Darcey tried to ignore the rumors. But in her heart, she felt something was wrong. The man she once saw as her soulmate was becoming a stranger. After the painful divorce, Darcey decided to move forward. She wanted a fresh start for herself, her daughters, and the life she had worked so hard to build. One of her biggest steps was selling her home. It was not just a house. It held memories, dreams, and the painful reminders of her relationship with Georgie. When she sold it for $900,000, it felt like a turning point. That money was meant to give her stability and a new beginning. Fans praised her decision. Many said she was strong and brave for taking control of her life. But behind the scenes, her financial situation was complex. She had legal fees from the divorce. She had business expenses. She had her daughter's future to protect. The $900,000 was not just profit. It was security. Darcey believed the worst was over. She thought she had left the toxic marriage behind and could finally rebuild. But she did not realize that Georgie was not finished. He knew about her savings. He knew about the property sale. And he knew how much she had trusted him in the past. That trust would soon become her greatest weakness. Soon after, Darcey sat down to review her finances. She logged into her accounts, expecting to see the savings she had built through years of hard work in television and fashion. Instead, she saw something shocking. The balance was much lower than it should have been. At first, she thought it was a mistake, maybe a technical error. But as she looked deeper, her heart dropped. More than $1 million in savings was gone. Panicked, she contacted her bank, her lawyer, and her accountant. The investigation showed multiple withdrawals and transfers. The access appeared to come from someone who knew her financial details. All signs pointed to one person, Georgi Rusev. The betrayal was devastating. The man she once loved had not only hurt her emotionally, but had allegedly taken her financial security as well. Suddenly, his strange behavior during their relationship made sense. His interest in her finances. His secretive attitude. His unexplained absences. While Darcey struggled to understand what had happened, rumors about Georgie's new lifestyle began to spread. People claimed they had seen him dining in expensive restaurants and living far beyond what his income suggested. And he was not alone. He was often seen with a woman named Amber. At first, Darcey did not want to believe it. But the evidence seemed clear. Georgie had allegedly been in a secret relationship with Amber for at least a year, even before his marriage to Darcey officially ended. The missing money was believed to be funding his new life with her. For Darcey, this was more than just betrayal. It was heartbreak, humiliation, and financial loss all at once. While she had been trying to save her marriage, Georgie had reportedly been building a double life. Amber soon became part of the scandal. Witnesses claimed to have seen her and Georgie together in public, holding hands and enjoying luxury outings. To strangers, they looked like a happy new couple. But to Darcey, every report felt like another painful blow. The situation became public. Gossip blogs discussed the alleged affair. Fans debated whether Georgi had ever truly loved Darcey. Some even believed that Amber knew about Darcey from the beginning and was aware that Georgi was still married. Faced with heartbreak and the loss of her savings, Darcey had a choice. She could remain silent, or she could fight back. This time, it was not just about love. It was about justice. Many people believed Amber knew about Darcey from the beginning. They believed she knew Georgi was still married and understood exactly where the money was coming from. Whether that was true or not, the damage had already been done. Darcey's name was now connected to a public scandal that mixed love, money, and betrayal in the worst way. For days, Darcey struggled in silence. Those close to her said she barely slept. She kept replaying everything in her mind. Every promise Georgi made. Every time he said he loved her. Every moment she defended him when others warned her. The signs had been there, but she had chosen to believe in the relationship. Now she was left with heartbreak and a missing fortune. But Darcey was not just a woman in love. She was a mother and a businesswoman. She knew she could not let this destroy everything she had built. After the shock began to fade, determination took its place. She gathered her legal team and prepared to take action. Darcey officially filed a lawsuit against Georgi, accusing him of stealing more than $1 million from her accounts. The case quickly drew public attention. Media outlets picked up the story. Fans followed every update. For many people, it felt like a dramatic storyline from reality TV. But for Darcey, it was real life. In court documents, it was claimed that Georgi had access to sensitive financial information during their marriage. Transfers and withdrawals were allegedly traced back to accounts connected to him. The legal process was not easy. It required evidence, documentation, and long hours of questioning. Georgi, according to reports, denied any wrongdoing at first. He claimed misunderstandings. He suggested that the money had been shared or gifted. But investigators looked closely at the timeline. They examined the dates of transfers and compared them with the period when Georgi and Amber were reportedly seen living a lavish lifestyle. As the case moved forward, more details came to light. Friends testified about Georgi's behavior during the marriage. They described his interest in Darcey's finances and his lack of stable income. Some claimed he often asked questions about her savings and investments. Others said he seemed too comfortable spending money that was not his. Darcey remained strong in public. On social media, she shared messages about resilience and self-worth. She posted photos with her daughters and focused on her business. But behind closed doors, the stress was heavy. Legal battles are expensive and emotionally draining. She had already gone through a painful divorce. Now she was fighting to recover her financial security. The courtroom became the place where the truth would be decided. After weeks of hearings and reviews of financial records, the court reached a decision. Georgi was found guilty of financial misconduct related to the missing funds. He was sentenced to 1 year in prison. For Darcey, the verdict brought a mix of emotions. There was relief that her claims had been validated. There was sadness that the man she once loved had fallen so far. And there was a deep sense of betrayal that would take time to heal. The public reaction was intense. Some people supported Darcey completely, praising her for standing up for herself. They saw her as a strong woman who refused to be silenced. Others questioned how the relationship had gone so wrong. They wondered whether fame, money, and pressure had played a role in the collapse of the marriage. Amber's role in the story also continued to spark debate. While she was not charged in the case, many believed she benefited from the stolen money. Reports of luxury dinners and designer shopping trips added fuel to the controversy. However, without legal proof against her, the focus remained on Georgi. As Georgi began his sentence, Darcey began the long process of rebuilding again. Financial recovery would take time. Not all of the money could be immediately restored. There were still legal costs and business responsibilities. But emotionally, she had taken back control. She started speaking more openly about red flags in relationships. She talked about the importance of financial independence and protecting personal assets. She encouraged women not to ignore warning signs, no matter how much they want a relationship to work. Darcey also focused on her daughters. She wanted them to see strength, not defeat. She wanted them to understand that love should never come at the cost of self-respect or security. In interviews, she emphasized that her biggest priority was being a good mother and building a stable future for her family. House of 11 continued to grow, and Darcey poured her energy into expanding the brand. Work became part of her healing process. Every new project was proof that she could stand on her own. Every success was a reminder that she was more than a failed marriage or a public scandal. Looking back, many fans began to rewatch moments from the show with a different perspective. Georgi's distant behavior, his vague answers, his discomfort when discussing money. What once seemed like small issues now looked like clear warning signs. Darcey herself admitted that love had clouded her judgment. She had wanted the fairy tale so badly that she ignored reality. But she also refused to let shame define her. She believed that trusting someone is not a weakness. The real fault lies with the person who chooses to betray that trust. In the end, this story became more than just gossip about a reality TV couple. It became a lesson about boundaries, financial awareness, and the importance of listening to intuition. Love can be beautiful, but it must be built on honesty and respect. Darcey Silva's journey did not end with betrayal. It continued with resilience. She faced heartbreak, public humiliation, and financial loss, yet she chose to fight. She chose to stand up in court. She chose to protect her name and her future. And perhaps the most powerful part of her story is this. Even after losing love and money, she did not lose herself. Even after everything, Darcey refused to let bitterness take over her life. The betrayal hurt deeply, but she understood that staying angry would only give more power to the past. Instead, she focused on healing her heart, her confidence, and her sense of trust. The experience changed her. She became more careful, more aware, and more protective of her personal life. Where she once rushed into love with open arms, she now took her time. She learned that real love does not create confusion, fear, or financial stress. Real love feels safe. Friends noticed the difference. Darcey was calmer, stronger. She no longer ignored uncomfortable questions. If something did not feel right, she addressed it. If someone showed inconsistency, she paid attention. The painful lessons from her marriage became tools for growth instead of wounds that held her back. Her daughters also became her greatest motivation. They had watched their mother go through heartbreak before, but this time was different. This time, they saw her fight back. They saw her stand up in court. They saw her choose dignity over silence. That example mattered more than any television storyline ever could. Public opinion slowly shifted from scandal to admiration. Many who once questioned her choices began to respect her resilience. She had been vulnerable on television for years, allowing viewers to see her hopes and disappointments. Now they were seeing her strength. Darcey also began speaking more openly about financial awareness in relationships. She encouraged people to protect their assets, understand shared accounts, and never hand over complete control out of love. Trust is important, she said, but so is wisdom. Love should never mean losing independence. The scandal that once threatened to define her slowly became just one chapter in a much bigger story. A chapter about misplaced trust, yes, but also about courage and accountability. Georgi's actions had consequences, and Darcey's response showed that being hurt does not mean being powerless. As time passed, the headlines faded. The gossip quieted. What remained was a woman who had been tested and had survived. Her brand continued. Her family remained strong. And her belief in love, although more cautious, was not completely gone. Because at her core, Darcey still believed in happiness. She still believed that love could exist without lies. But this time, she promised herself something important. She would never again ignore her intuition. She would never again sacrifice her security for someone who did not prove their loyalty. In the end, the story was not just about betrayal. It was about awakening. It was about a woman realizing her worth after trusting the wrong person. It was about learning that sometimes the worst heartbreak can lead to the strongest comeback. Darcey, Silva lost money. She lost a marriage. She lost the future she once imagined. But she gained clarity. She gained strength. And most importantly, she gained herself back. And that is something no one can ever steal.